This is completely unacceptable. We have bylaws against this. Look at the water pressure. It's coming into the cul-de-sac. Someone call the mayor right now.
I didn't say a word when they handed me that eviction notice. I just slid the 1923 water rights deed across the table and watched 35 McMansions turn into lakefront property. The Willowbrook Estates, HOA, thought they could steal my grandfather's farm while I was deployed in Afghanistan. These pompous bureaucrats built their perfect suburban paradise on stolen land, complete with tennis outfit, Karens patrolling in golf carts. What they didn't know: I'm an Army Corps engineer, and that little earth dam on my property had been waiting 45 years for someone reckless enough to build downstream. The audacity was unreal until the spillway gates opened and their luxury development got its first real taste of natural flooding. All of this was going to be satisfying. So before we go further, where are you watching from? Drop it in the comments below, because you're about to witness one of the most calculated HOA takedowns involving federal water law and gravity. My name is Jake Morrison, 34 years old, Army Corps of Engineers, third generation owner of 47 acres just outside Austin, Texas. Land my grandfather bought in 1955, when the city was still quiet and wide open. Back when cattle outnumbered people and land meant something more than property value. My grandfather, Pops, was a man who believed in stewardship, in leaving land better than you found it. And in 1978, he built a small but brilliantly engineered earth dam with help from the Army Corps, designed to capture rainwater, prevent erosion, and regulate flow for neighbors downstream. It wasn't glamorous, but it worked. For decades, that dam quietly supported farms, gardens, and livestock across the creek. It became part of a system bigger than our property, a balance that relied on respect and understanding. Then life took me away. 2 deployments in Afghanistan, where I specialized in water systems, learning how to find, protect, and distribute water in places where every drop mattered, where entire communities depended on it. And those experiences changed me. They sharpened my understanding of how fragile and powerful water really is. But while I was gone, Pops passed away, and the land went into a trust managed by my sister Sarah in California. She did her best, but she wasn't equipped for Texas land laws. She hired a property management company to handle things. Taxes were paid, paperwork filed, but no one was watching closely, and that gap was all someone like Margaret Giggy Thornwell needed. 52 years old, president of Willowbrook Estates, HOA, married to a city councilman, polished, calculated, and relentless. The type of person who smiles warmly while orchestrating something ruthless behind the scenes. She saw unused land, an absent owner, and an opportunity to expand her development. And while I was overseas, she and her husband pushed zoning changes, filed adverse possession claims, and started building a luxury neighborhood right over my property lines. When I came home in August 2023, expecting to see open pasture, I found construction crews, survey markers, and concrete foundations spreading across my land like an infection. The place where I learned to ride, hunt, and work had been carved into plots for suburban houses. I confronted the foreman. He shrugged and said they had permits. I called the police, and even they admitted the situation was complicated. Then Maggie arrived in her golf cart, calm and confident, telling me my family had abandoned the land, and she was simply improving it for the community. But the real betrayal hit when I checked the dam and saw the water level dropping. Her crews had diverted the creek feeding it, redirecting water away from my system and toward their development, effectively draining decades of careful management. And in that moment, I realized this wasn't just about land, it was about control over something far more valuable. I tried the legal route first, hired an attorney who promised results, but mostly billed hours and delayed progress. So I took matters into my own hands, digging through county records, permits, and historical documents with the same discipline I used overseas, and what I found changed everything. The original dam permits showed federal involvement, meaning the structure fell under federal jurisdiction, something no HOA could override, no matter how influential they were locally. Then I uncovered the 1923 water rights deed, granting my family senior rights to the entire watershed, rights older than any zoning change, older than the city itself, which meant Maggie's entire development depended on resources she had no legal claim to. Meanwhile, she launched a public relations campaign, painting me as unstable and dangerous, organizing meetings about safety concerns, posting vague warnings online, and quietly encouraging neighbors to see me as a threat, trying to isolate me socially while her crews rushed to finish construction. But she underestimated two things: my training and my patience. I contacted an old friend in the EPA, and once he heard about the unauthorized creek diversion without federal permits, things escalated quickly. I began documenting everything, installing cameras, measuring water flow, recording changes, building a case piece by piece, and the deeper I dug, the worse it got. Their development sat in a floodplain, something they had hidden from insurers and buyers. Their permits were rushed through with help from Maggie's husband, and their entire financial structure depended on stable water access they didn't legally own. At that point, I stopped reacting and started planning strategically. I revisited the dam design and discovered the emergency spillway system, a controlled release mechanism designed to restore natural flow during heavy rainfall or imbalance. It hadn't been used in decades, but it was still functional. I ran calculations, mapped terrain, and realized I could restore the creek's natural path safely, exposing their illegal construction without harming legitimate property. And with storms forecasted, timing was on my side. I partnered with an environmental lawyer, gathered support from affected farmers, and coordinated with federal agencies to ensure everything would be observed and documented. Everything was set. But Maggie sensed pressure and escalated further. Harassment increased, inspections multiplied, and attempts were made to block access to my own land. But by then, it was too late for her to stop what was coming. When the day arrived, I moved with precision, opening the spillway gradually, controlled, measured, and deliberate. And instead of chaos, what happened was something simple and undeniable. Water returned to its natural path, flowing through the original creek bed exactly as it had for decades, revealing where the development had encroached illegally. No homes were destroyed, no danger occurred, just clear evidence that the system had been manipulated. Maggie panicked, shouting about attacks and danger. But the visuals didn't match her claims. Cameras captured calm flowing water, investigators confirmed natural patterns, and the media narrative shifted almost instantly. What was supposed to be her moment of control became the moment everything unraveled. Investigators stepped in, insurance companies launched reviews, and legal pressure mounted from every direction. Construction halted, financial backing collapsed, and the HOA's authority began to crumble under scrutiny. In court, the evidence was overwhelming: federal law, historical rights, environmental damage, and financial fraud all aligned against them. The judge ruled in my favor, confirming my right to operate the dam and restore water flow. And what followed was a chain reaction Maggie couldn't contain. Her husband faced federal charges tied to corruption and conflict of interest. The development lost its funding and viability, and the HOA dissolved under legal and financial pressure. But the real victory wasn't just legal, it was environmental and communal. The creek was restored, farms downstream regained reliable water, wildlife returned to habitats that had been disrupted, and the land began to heal in a way no development plan ever could. Neighbors who had once been misled started to understand what had really happened, and the community slowly rebuilt trust around something real instead of manufactured perfection. Today, that same area stands as a protected and functional landscape, supporting agriculture, conservation, and education, a living example of what happens when natural systems are respected instead of exploited. I didn't win because I was lucky. I won because I understood the system better than the people trying to manipulate it. I had history, law, engineering, and eventually community support on my side. And in the end, water